the day yesterday with that performance against Vitality. He went 1-5 and then 2, but that second place, it didn't need to be a first. It was him holding on to so much HP throughout that game, making it impossible for Vitality to find the 1-2 that they needed.
And we are heading into the first game. Cash prize at the start of each day. We're going to start off a little bit calm. Before we go into all the action, there is one more protagonist I have to mention, and that is Bintum. He has been the pillar of this T1 squad. They built this entire 4v4 roster around him, and he is the player that I feel like has been most maligned by fate. If you think about EWC 2024, T1 took it to Game 5. They were doing great against the Wolves, but then somehow Lee Sao is able to find Kassadin 3 in just 12 rolls. It happens in the TAC round 2. Bintum, he's denying Jisop. He's about to get to that championship, but then Jisop finds 5 Nautilus in 6 rolls. So you just have to feel like this is a person that's always been able to make lemonade out of lemons. He's always been able to land on a lot of alternate compositions, and I feel like fate really owes him an apology. This is his time to shine.
We even saw it in the T1 versus Vitality series yesterday with him getting all of his Kai'Sa's health forever, not able to hit anything. It looks like Vitality is going to jail him to go 8th, and yet Bintum somehow is able to scrounge together a board that holds out for a top 4 in that game. And Bintum has just been so phenomenal for so long. And once again, he's trying to lead this T1 squad to a finals performance and maybe go further than last time. Not just 5 games to the loss, but instead take victory here at the Esports World Cup. So we are jumping on board with Bintum out the gates, and we do see holding on to a couple Battle Academia and finding Katarina, which has improved a lot in the stats over the course of the tournament. Day 1, Katarina looked like, hey, maybe we shouldn't actually be clicking this comp. It struggled quite a bit, but now it is one of the best performing comps across the tournament.
I think people are recognizing that it's actually okay to play into a Katarina and have it contested by the Prodigy line as well. But you know, overall, I think a big thing is also just the artifact combinations. If you want to go into the Katarina line, you have to find those stacking artifacts, max Arcana, maybe wait to go with it early on. And we do have Heroic Grab Bag that does make sure you win any of those 2-cost reroll race. Bintum rerolling everything else, staying on this one, and coordinating with his teammates.
Yeah, trying to decide what everyone is going to do. We see the early pick from Robin Songs on the Stars Are Born that can definitely go towards the Gangplank, right? You just find one copy and then suddenly you've got a 2-star Gangplank for the foreseeable future. Going to be a really interesting click from Dooney Zuni going towards the Wandering Trainer. So they pick that first, they got to see what they get, and then they can go from there. Crazy Moving going to grab some calculated loss, get some extra rerolls, get some extra gold.
Ooh, and this is really spicy from a lot of these players. We have a full loss streaker from T1 and a full win streaker. Prize fighter plus more valuable losses coming in. So this is how T1 really likes to set up their games. They want to have someone dominating on both ends of the streaks.
And here looking at Dooney Zuni's Wandering Trainer, got Heavyweight and Sorcerer, has a Jeweled Gauntlet to slam, so easily, there we go. We've got our Sorks player for T1.
And looking at Robin Songs, the Stars Are Born has not been used just quite yet. So he naturaled the Mundo earlier on, and this is one of the battles I want to pay very close attention to. The Mundo line has been pivotal for all of these players right here because it just stabilizes you so hard in the stage 3. And for T1, they like to play the Mundo and the Kai'Sa composition. 3 games already for Bintum. On the other hand, for Dank Memes, he has been kind of the tempo juggernaut player.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting to see T1 strategy shift a little bit. Crazy Moving has often actually been playing tempo for them over the past few days, but this time is going to be opting into the loss streak. Now, he's been playing tempo, but he's also been winning out a lot for the team, and I think going for this loss streak, this open fort that he's going for, trying to look for the win, trying to stop Kaiwing, they both open fort, as we've got Scoreboard Scrapper on Kaiwing and we've got the calculated loss for Crazy Moving, trying to grief each other. They don't hit each other, but it is going to cause a lot more damage to come out early and have the side effect of denying some gold for Gangplank and denying some of these extra kills.
I like this move from Kaiwing quite a bit here. He's just making sure that T1 doesn't run away with the loss streaks. We have talked about T1 being one of the few teams that really likes to go full loss streak, max econ into win-out situation. So they're making sure that Crazy Moving isn't going to get that one. And of course, for Kaiwing, even if his streak is broken, he's still going to get value for that occurring further on.
Yeah, we see Robin ends up losing a fight. Of course, he hasn't used the Stars Are Born, so he's just playing an augment down. A CSC with the prize fighter, it looked like had a very strong board. It looked like a lot of items already slammed.
Yeah, we are starting with just 3 components right here, so getting those extra 2 at the start is just a massive advantage. Robin songs with Stars Are Born, this is very interesting. We have seen players try to hold it off for just the GP count, but so far we already have GP looking like the angle for dank memes here. So it's going to be interesting to see what he uses that 2 cost onto, angling very heavily into the Juggernaut line so far.
Yep, ends up running into Crazy Moving. Both Crazy Moving and Kaiwing still going to be looking for that open fort. And now we get a look at SCSC's board. Is a red buff and that Guardbreaker Slam already, or Striker's Flail with the Lux 2 online. A lot of upgrades on that board already.
Yeah, 2-star 2 cost, just moving up the ladder right here and dominating on both sides. So the key thing here is, can they keep both of those streaks alive? This is what T1 likes to do. They like to have someone with very high HP going to stage 3, stage 4, and then they slowly lend the HP to the win-out player so they can climb back into the standings. The problem with, though, in this meta, the win-out players have also been the 2-cost rerollers. So
yeah,
that, I think, has been the main issue with the strat so far.
And that's highlighted by no team better than Citadel, actually. They each have a first place playing Gangplank reroll in their 4 games, right? All 4 players have played it one time, and they each won. So we'll see as if that trend continues and the Gangplank player for Citadel continues to find that first place.
Yeah, and we have seen T1 actually stumble in trying to find those win-outs. They try to play a Crystal Gambit game, and the one thing that has been pretty successful for them for the Lost Streak win-out is something that I find really peculiar because no one else has been able to do it, and it's actually the Kale composition. We're not going to see it this game, but just keep it in your mind. That has been one of their go-to strategies, averaging a 2nd placement so far with the comp.
Yeah, meanwhile, Bintum here is win streaking with Aura farming, and actually has the Braum, which I think is one of the best, if not the best hit that you can get off of Aura farming. Just Braum being such a powerful frontline unit that you can add to a lot of different compositions.
It's going to be crazy if he's going to be playing down an augment and still full win streaking here. Aatrox already onto the back line. We see the Stars Are Born being popped here by Robin Songs, going for the Jin Mundo, but this is actually not a very good position for it. You would really have preferred the Mundo for more stabilization, and this is a composition where we've seen time and time again, if you manage to stabilize, then it opens up the 4-cost range, but if you don't, then you have to roll pretty deep on stage 3.
Both of the T1 members pushed 5 aggressively. There was not really much of that coming out of Citadel. They're not really contesting the win streaks. And now for T1, it looks like Bintum is going to weaken the board, puts in Crystal Gambit for now, but going up, hopefully for Bintum, is going into SCSC, trying to just give the streak over.
This is a really smart thing because it is prize fighter on SCSC, so if you want the additional items to be dropped, you would have preferred it to be on the teammate here. And let's see if they are both able to escape with the 5 streak. Wow, very good fight RNG for them.
Yeah, Bintum weakens the board significantly, but then runs into Crazy Moving, who is just full open, and on the other side, SCSC into Doonizuni. But I think SCSC would beat anyone at this point. When we're looking at these early boards, SCSC clearly had the 5 streak for Stage 2.
And the key thing here for Citadel is to see if Kai was able to snipe I believe Crazy Moving. So if they both go into the full loss streaks here, I have to say for the stage 2, it does put T1 in a very comfortable environment in terms of the econ and the streak goal that they're going to get out of the PvE round. Ooh. Dank Memes already with a great find right here. GP2 on the board means that he doesn't have to roll on stage 3 whatsoever. It does open that roll on level 7 line. He's uncontested so far on the GP. This could be the win-out player established for Citadel.
Yeah, I mean, this is massive for Dank Memes. As you said, right, won't have to roll on stage 3, get those wins. We'll see if he can farm gold. It has double strike, so the fruit can give him something like Midas Touch, or just even better, the stretchy arms out the gate to just be playing around that. But as I mentioned earlier, Citadel has failed to ever get anything worse than a first place with their Gangplank. Of course, the sample size quite low, just the 4 games, but they are looking to continue that with Dank Memes picking this up early.
Oh, and Dank Memes does have a huge find. Yeah, Mentor 4 going into the board here. I really am quite curious to see what T1 reacts to this. I don't think you can allow an opponent to go solo GP, so it's likely Crazy Moving that has to roll here, but he hasn't touched his gold so far. He's going to wait until that level 6, and by then there's already going to be 4 GPs out of the pool.
Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty telling, the Crazy Movie roll down. Does he go directly for the Gangplank like you're saying, or does he try and hold out for something higher? I know there was already a Sorks player locked in, I believe it's Dunizuni, that has the Wandering Trainer with the Sorks. So it does kind of close off maybe one of the other lines you would expect from the full loss streak.
Yeah, and it does seem like they will have to kind of position around these 2 players here. This is going to be one of the slowest lobbies that we have ever seen in this tournament. We have people going for aura farming that's not going to come online until 4-6. So a lot of these players are not actually looking to contest that hard in stage 3.
All right, looking at our next augment selection, it is going to be Golds once again. Seeing backup dancers for the Gangplank, get some more attack speed there. Missing the Ginsu, so this will actually help kind of this early to mid game, as that's the 6th Gangplank for Dank Memes getting picked up already. And Crazy moving, just like you called out, immediately looking for the Gangplank contest. Already finding some Yasuos, gets a rise of his own, so we'll be able to go for that 4 Mentor nice and early. However, the Gangplanks are not coming through just yet.
Yeah, he really would have liked to overtake Dank Memes in terms of the GP count. He did have 30 extra gold coming into this round, but not being able to overtake him. And he's rolling very, very deep for that GP2. Not hitting that GP2 means that you cannot stabilize on stage 3. And we have to remember, he's playing full loss streak already, 61 HP. This could make things very dire for T1.
Yeah, it's already a very tough spot. Crazy moving, our earliest candidate for an 8th, right? Going off the full loss, late on the GP because Dank Memes hit so quickly. The only saving grace for them so far is that this Gangplank doesn't have a Ginsu's yet, but there's already some things happening to kind of counteract that with the backup dancers, and has the Edge of Night, and plus just so far ahead on tempo, especially with the 4 Mentor already online.
Really cool moves across the board coming in for Citadel Gaming. So we had Robin Songs not place his heavy as the crown, wanted Dank Memes to continue to farm up and get gold. On the other hand, they also break SCSC's streak here. We are going to be taking a look at where some of these other players are going to be ending up. Solus, even though he's contesting against a teammate, but the important thing here is they have the GP2 while T1 doesn't. So I really like this, just holding 2 GPs against the enemy team right here.
What I love about this heavy is the Crown Mundo is we didn't see it a single time in like the first 2 days, and then suddenly we see it on Wet Jungler, and now this is the 3rd time we're seeing this, and I'm curious if it was hidden tech within certain groups that were playing it, or if instead of that it was just nobody found the spot, and then suddenly we see the spot come up a couple of times in a row, which I think it's probably more the latter than the former, but just neat to see that this Mundo tech has really come up strong, and it's been good every single time we've seen it.
It's just so good in 4v4 because you can actually just pop it off your units without using any removers. So you can kind of decide how you want to play every single fight. You can lend HP to your teammates, or you can just go in stronger on opponents right here. And as we see, you know, Robin Song still has not slammed that item, keeping it on the bench, letting his teammates just get a little bit more steam into this game. You know, taking a look at the roles for Solus right here, he already has one of the 3 stars. I think it's 2 3-stars actually, with the Malphite as well. So in terms of tempo, Citadel Gaming looking very comfortable. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about is definitely going to be Kaiwing's board, because it's going to be an 8-loss streak, 40 HP, really not that much to work with.
Yeah, we'll have to see the big roll down come through, because it looks like that's a Prodigy emblem on Kaiwing. What?
Yeah, Prodigy.
Yeah, it looks like
slammed.
it's Prodigy emblem. Okay, so he is going to be just committing towards that line, and we saw, you know, early on the red buff and the Jeweled Gauntlet, he's scoreboard scrapping, so he's going to be very strong by the time he actually gets the board, but that's the big question is, does he get the board? And we saw some very unfortunate misses on massive roll downs yesterday. This is slamming, scoreboard scrapping, putting everything down on the table to get to that fast 8. And then we just see the roll down, because that is the make or break for Citadel.
He does still have a lot of gold, and it gets a great find off the carousel with the Leona. So hopefully this is going to stabilize, but if you look across the board, there are 0 upgrades here. So he's playing from a lost streak position and also very unlucky with the upgrades. That is going to be the board, at least on 4-1, that we're going to have to pay the most attention to.
Meanwhile, taking a look at Bintum, just slamming some of the early items that are probably going to be passed to Braum, just because you know you're getting this 2-star Braum right away. That's going to be the big anchor for you. Holding these Mundo's potentially just denying from Robin, but also, if you're getting a Braum, you know, Mundo is definitely going to want to fit into your comp, so just having that 2-star ready to go. But Bintum is going to be taking that win streak and then turning it around into a loss streak for Stage 3. This board is obviously not very strong and still just trying to make Econ look for that kind of cash out, as it were, with the Braum on 4-6.
And this is actually pretty painful for Kai Wang because he actually loses his streak as well. It's going to cost him a lot of gold. And as we were talking about, just the Stage 2 coming in from Bintum, being able to full win streak without a combat augment on Stage 2 just allows him to then go into full loss streak later on.
Yeah, taking stock of the HP of the lobby as well, it's actually just incredibly close because Kaiwing is down at 40. And at the top of the tables, it's really just Dank Beams, SCSC pretty much tied up, everything kind of congealing within the middle. So no big leads for either side. And it's just going to come down to who actually gets those big win-out spots, because it doesn't look like we have a position where you can feasibly look to try and send a bunch of players in the bot 4.
True, and it's the rolldowns on Stage 4 are just going to be so close because there's a lot of open spots on T1 side. SCSC, undecided where he will finally land up, is just trying to get as much econ as possible. He actually can roll down earlier than most of the players in this lobby, so there is a potential for him to just say, you know what, I'm going to target Kai Wang. I can roll before him just because of the quiet quitting and the prize fighting full win streak. I'm going to take away those Prodigy units. This could be a very pivotal PvE round. He does have the goal to do it. Let's see if he goes for the play. And yes, he's going
he's starting his roll. Kaiwing is, it looks like maybe doing the same. No, going to stop at the pre-level as we do have that roll down all the way from SCSC. Not finding any of the units immediately, though, and I think maybe Kaiwing scouting this as well before trying to start the roll down. Sees, okay, my Prodigy units are still safe and sound in the pool. That miss from SCSC may end up being the opening that Citadel needs to run away with the game.
Yeah, I think this is a huge sigh of relief on Kaiwing's part. They don't have one of those open slot players that can go into their lane. It looks like SCSC he does have the very early Twisted Fate, which we actually saw Citadel Gaming play to great effect in their matchup against Twisted Mind. You get him early, there's tons of AP to go onto it, and most likely going to go into the all-out line.
Yeah, and Kaiwing, look at these rolls already. Leona 2, finds a Cassante, finds a Yuumi. Already going to be pretty stable just out of this. Doesn't even need more upgrades to stabilize the board. It's already kind of there. Good front line, good items for the back line. Even finds a Malzahar 2 to boot. And able to hold on to some Sorks because he knows Dooney Zuni's going in the direction, and I don't believe we have a Sorks player on the side of Citadel. So just taking a Gwen and a Karma away on this roll down, getting the slam items onto the Yuumi, being able to have the full Prodigy in because of the emblem. I mean, this is massive.
Once he can get into that top 4, then he will be stabilized. But that is the question right here. Can he survive on just 3 lives? Going up against a teammate in Robin Song, still has that full Leona. It looks like he'll be fine for now.
Going to be good for now. I think the big miss for Kaiwing is not finding a pair of Yuumis. We're actually going to see him sell the Gwen to make Econ. Not really worth holding that to try and deny it from the Sorks. And it's going to be a Prismatic to end things out. We see a roll away from the Izakai, and then we're going to get a Yuumi pair off of Circlet. Now, Circlet's not generally that good, and you already have the emblem. Prodigy doesn't really scale with extra emblems, but I'm curious if there's ever a spot where you just need the extra Yuumi to try and go to 2-star.
I think that's a good call here. I mean, hold the line. You're not using the AP AD that much because you don't have the Yuumi too. So this is one of the rare situations where the Circlet actually feels like the correct call. And you called it here, Casanova.
It's such a big difference from playing solos, right? Yeah. Because you wouldn't expect to have your Yuumis grief so hard that you're not going to hit. But you know that as everyone's rolling down, they're going to hold Yuumis. SCSC, 2 Yuumis on the bench. How are you ever finding this upgrade? You might get jailed at 30 life and go 8th. Plus 1 Yuumi means you just have to find 1 more the rest of the game. You already were missing the Syndra, so you weren't being able to play Max Prodigy anyway with just the 1 emblem. Now 2 emblems, you get to play the full suite of Prodigies. You don't have to even worry about playing those 1 costs. The Rod is fine, and then you can help yourself find the Yuumi, and it pays dividends because Kaiwing 2-stars it.
Yeah, a great stabilization. SCSC should really be selling his Yuumis at this point. He would be losing on interest for nothing if he doesn't do anything.
There it is, so
Good scouting right there. Another big point we have to pay attention to is now Bintum. He's playing aura farming, but can he actually make it to 4-6? That's going to be the question here as Dankmemes takes a decisive lead in the GP battle.
Yeah, it's a question we didn't think we'd find ourselves asking with him kind of win streaking all of the early game. We thought, oh, this board might be stable enough, but the no combat augments really catching up, not finding those additional upgrades. And now Bintum on 2 lives as Kaiwing hits everything for the Yuumi board. Dankmemes finds Gangplank 3. I'm not sure about the rest of the lobby yet, but Bintum could be in trouble as we do see he has rolled down now, found some upgrades. Yone 2, Jarvan 2. He might be strong enough to take some wins, and especially into someone like Dunizuni, who has not found the upgrades for the swords just yet.
Yep, Dunizuni still sitting on Karma 1 right here. There's already a Yone 2 that was hit on level 9, so it was full invested into legendaries. But no, Yone, after so many nerfs, is not strong enough to hold on. Bintum's going to be playing from 1 life. He might not even get the aura.
Yeah, I mean, they are 4-6, right? So it's 1 more fight that he has to survive. From 11, I'm wondering who's in his pool, because this could be a tragedy for T1 that could almost end the game on the spot, losing Bintum without even a fight, without him being able to chip away, looking as a potential win-out player, especially with all these duplicators that he has available to him to continue to make this legendary board pop off.
Those are some crazy hits by Bintum. There are 2 dupes, and he's already sitting on 4 Yones. This could be one of our first 3-star 5-cost games if he manages to survive just 1 more round here.
Yeah, because, I mean, the Braum can pretty much stabilize, and from there, you're so ahead on levels, you're finding those 5 costs first. Yone is not contested. Yes, they can try and hold it, but they have to find that Yone as well. There is a real world for that upgraded legendary to come through, and we see Bintum starting to even roll down more for it. He's really aggressively looking because he has these 2 duplicators.
Yeah, and he needs to turn the corner right here. The Edge of Night is massive for the Yone, probably the best item survivability-wise, and he is going to be forced to use the dupes early on just to stabilize this round, but if he can make it past, we're going to see one of the few legendary boards being played throughout this tournament.
Yeah, he can't fall here, but he finds the Gangplank. Dankmemes running over, saying what's up to Bintum, saying, I hope you position correctly for this, and kind of did, but not able to deal any damage to the Gangplank early on. The stretchy arm's just going to scale up. The legendary board already chewing through everything else, though, and it looks like Bintum has stabilized for now. He's able to beat the Gangplank, stop the bleeding, and he's just on 1 life and a dream as the Braum has finished aura farming and joins the board.
Ooh, what a close line to play right here. We saw Bintum just moving back in his seat, a sigh of relief as he finally gets his gold augment online. Now the pressure is going to be going on to Robinsongs as there are no 3-stars in this 2-cost related board. We did say that in the start, you know, if you didn't natural the Mundo, then having a bad stage 3 usually limits your options very hard in this board.
Look at Bintum's board now. 4 upgraded legendary units and still a duplicator sitting around. If he's fully stable to econ back up, that 3-star 5-cost is still on the table.
Yeah, and Yone is just not something that people will be holding right now, but maybe he could be falling down. Yone very weak in this current patch after dominating and terrorizing the Rift for so long. Finally, Zyra does find the backline, and he will stabilize once more. Kaiwing also in a tough situation, down to 1 last life.
Winning that game was so impactful for T1, winning that fight, because Bintum now may be able to send Robin and Kaiwing 7-8 in this game, because no one else from T1 is in those blinking red health bars. They still have plenty of life to work with. Crazy Moving has been on a win streak even so far at 34 life. So we'll see if T1 can hold on to these life totals, especially because Dunizuni, SCSC, they're still winning. They can potentially sacrifice if needed.
Absolutely here. It's getting very dire. I thought Citadel Gaming was looking so good at 4-1, but then the 4-2 invested really saved T1. A huge amount of gold injection, allowing him to roll on level 9 to hit those legendaries, stabilize, and now, as you mentioned, 4 upgraded legendaries across the board for Bintum. I don't see anything that can take him down right now. Maybe Solus is the closest one that could salvage the game for Citadel.
Yeah, the crew, I wonder if he's found like an early Twisted Fate or something. He's got everything online. We haven't seen Solus in a while, and maybe that's possible, but the 3-star GP is the other one, but I don't know that into a Legendaries board that the GP holds up. I mean, it got run over. Maybe with all the mentors getting upgraded, there's a world that it can actually pay off. And Robin, of course, Robin is gone. I mean, Robin just did what he could in the early game. He was supposed to be trying to help out the team. We saw him sacrificing a lot of rounds. And even once again, having to take off the heavies at Crown, the Crown of Demacia, he's just going to go down to Dank Memes. They're not sacrificing for Robin, which at this point makes sense. I don't think you could plan to send Bintum 8th here.
Yeah, it's very difficult. We just saw Solus's board, and he is only sitting on 3 copies of Ziggs. It's not really feasible for the crew to take out Bintum either. So as long as there's no self-kills, so no self-sabotages coming out from T1, I do expect Bintum to be able to clean up the bottom half of this lobby.
I mean, and considering the team play we've seen out of T1, I think it's unlikely that we're going to see that misstep of them actually have that kind of team kill happen. And for a team that has won all 4 of their games in blowouts, sending the opponent to the bottom 4, 3 members to the bottom 4 at the very least, there is a very real chance that Citadel is going to lose in a blowout right here.
Yeah, I think just the 4-2 augments just changed the landscape so incredibly much. Bintum looked like he was on his way out, but he gets the save uninvested, is able to get the Braum 2 on the board, and now we're going to see if Kaiwing can finally cash out on his scoreboard scrapper. He needs to end up in the top 4 in HP in order to get that additional HP and to get all of the pieces online here. Oh, this is the key matchup.
Yeah,
if Solus can take out Bintum.
Wait, this is close. The target onto the Zyra. There's actually nothing left. Solus might take Bintum down. This could save the entire game for Citadel. And Solus does not get the takedown. Bintum survives on just 2 HP.
The fans came in to work. It was the Braum, the aura farming. He was able to get the win streak, and that's the thing about 4v4. You always have to look at that passive from Braum to decide if you're going to be able to take out your opponent. One more life given to Bintum, and that means that he could potentially send Kaiwing down further. Everything is hinging on this fight. Crazy moving out of nowhere. Also, we saw just, not being able to hit the GP3, now sitting at the bottom.
That could have made all the difference. If Bintum goes down there, they send Crazy moving in 6th. Suddenly, there's a lot of room for Citadel to actually win this game. But Bintum gets to hold on another round, facing off against SCSC. This should be another win for Bintum. He shouldn't have a problem. All out Cassante, but it's only 1 star. Bintum should be safe now as Kaiwing will be taking out Crazy moving.
All right, so at least they equalize on the bottom right here. It's only a 1-point advantage going in from T1, and Kaiwing is so close. One more elimination, and he gets that 10% extra HP across the board.
Dank Memes still not able to find the upgrades onto the mentors, just having it on the gangplank, and I think that just hasn't quite been enough for the team. Still trying to find a way to claw things back after they couldn't push Bintum out.
Really cool move by Dank Memes here, actually taking away Shred, I believe, from Dooney Juni. So I think he has a fully itemized GP, but he's looking at the board and say, we need to deny some of these win-out players. We're probably going to get a draw on the bottom side. We need to make sure that Dooney Juni doesn't run away with the emblem.
Bintum has now gone to level 10. Starting to roll down. Still, if this game keeps going on, I keep mentioning it, but the 3-star 5 cost is a potential real out. Probably would have expected it more if he rolled on 9 instead. So it's just going to be an upgraded Twisted Fate being added to the board. And at a certain point, it's like, can Solus ever beat him again? Was that the one-time fluke?
Oh, and this is going to be a tough
time.
matchup here. It's going to be 10 HP minimum, so I think no matter what, Kaiwing will still stay alive.
We'll see the Braum heading towards the back line. The Yuumi already is down from Yone. This might just be Kaiwing going down. This is so many units left alive at just low HP, but it doesn't matter how much HP the unit has. It just matters the damage.
2 units.
The Leona might have saved the day. Kaiwing, in fact, she did. Lives on 1. Leona making all the difference as SCSC going to drop to 1 life as well. Solus and Dank Meme still having a good amount of HP to work with. Kaiwing, if he can outlive SCSC, they can still have a very good chance to win.
Yeah, this is so close right here. Look at the bottom 3 players. 6 HP between the 3 of them. Everything going to be decided on this finals fight. Let's take a look at the positioning right here. Kaiwing actually taking his main tank really far away from this Yuumi. So this is actually a bit of a risk that he's taking
Swaps
right
it last
here.
second.
Swaps last second. Okay, okay.
There's the move. Going up against Solus. Looks like Solus could not weaken this board very much at all. Curious if Kaiwing can actually win there on the other side. SCSC going up against Dooney Zuni. Looks like Dooney was able to weaken the board a little bit, or at least the Karma is down. SCSC is going to hold on.
Leona still in there. Kaiwing's going to the back line.
That's way bigger of a loss than they wanted, though. Solus going to go down to single-digit HP, very low. But Bintum is down. Where did Bintum fall?
Bintum with the full legendary board drops. He goes
Dank
6th
beams.
place.
Dank beams. The Gangplank
the
got it.
GP3 is able to take him out. Yeah, it was Dank beams. Stretchy arms just targets the back line.
I saw the pop-off from Kaiwing. I knew something had to have happened. And it was Bintum going down. Dank memes with the Gangplank. They have never placed below a first with the Gangplank Mentor reroll. Citadel, every time, 4 games, 4 Gangplank firsts. And Dank Meme sends the biggest threat for the win out, Bintum, out in 6th.
Absolutely massive here. They avoid the blowout, they take the win out condition away, and looking across the rest of these boards, it doesn't look like T1 has the strength left of them. Who is going to stand up against a fully upgraded crew board? Who is going to take on Kaiwing with the scoreboard scrapper here? It has to be Dooney Zuni. Can he get that Gwen too?
Braum upgrade, Poppy upgrade, Duplicator on the bench. There's the Gwen. Dooney Zuni now has to be the hero for T1. So many times it's been crazy moving. So many times it's been SCSC, the leader, Bintum, but nobody talks about Dooney Zuni. And now it's the time for Dooney Zuni to turn things around and win this game for T1.
SCSC also has to survive here. If he just falls down, then it's lights out for T1. Taking a look at both of these fights, Solus looks like he's going to win his matchup against Dank Meme, so that's going to go in Citadel's favor. On the other hand,
Kaiwing's going down.
It's going to be about the HP totals right here. There is a chance, we're not seeing SCSC's board. If he loses more HP than Kaiwing, it could still just be lights out.
Kaiwing's out, SCSC finds the win, so we still have a game. One pairing won by T1, crazy moving, placing 7th over Robin's 8th. One pairing won by Citadel. And now we have to see this top 4 and how it shakes out.
Whoever gets first just wins the game right here. So it doesn't, the rest of the standings do not matter anymore. It's about reaching your max cap.
And as we've said before, the Gangplank has never failed Citadel. Dank Memes, it looked like potentially sacked a little bit for Solus or Kaiwing there to try and win the game on the spot, but now Solus faces Dooney Zuni. That is maybe the highest cap. We're pretty sure the highest cap for T1 right now. If Solus can win this fight, that might just spell the game. It's tough though. The Gwen getting the cast, clearing up Solus's board. He's gonna go down. Dank Meme's gonna win the fight as well. It's gonna be heads up. Dank Memes versus Dooney Zuni to decide the winner of the first game.
And we have to pay very close attention to all the minute details right here. One of the key things is which target does the Karma start on early. You typically want to start on the weak side, blow up a couple of the carries, and make sure that GP gets focused relatively early on. That was the positioning battle for Twisted Minds versus Flash Wolves yesterday as well. Same exact matchup. It has to come down to where the Karma and Gwen are going to be stacked up on the board.
Dank Memes has no margin for error. 13 HP, 1 loss, and that seals it. Dooney Zuni, on the other hand, 33 life to work with. Can take a couple losses if they're small. There's the positioning. Gangplank on the side. The Braum nearby. Have to watch for that cast, but it looks like the Kabuko is going to have the CC War on lock right away, even hitting onto the Karma. But the damage is too much from the Sorks. And finally, Citadel are denied. T1 will be the first team to take a game over Citadel.
What a close game that was. There was 3 players hanging on below 5 HP for a majority of that final stage. And finally, Dooney Zuni with the great positioning. He makes sure that the targeting is not going to be onto the Kabuko directly, places everything into the middle, into the lineup, so he does get the additional Sword Blast, and it's just too much for Dank Memes to hold on.
Dooney Zuni proving that anyone on T1 can still be the ace. You can never count any of them out. This game looked like it was one for Citadel very early on, and then suddenly it looked like it was one for T1, and it kept going back and forth, once again looking like Citadel had the edge. But finally, in the end, Dunizuni just has enough gas in the tank to get it done.
Yeah, we're going to be taking a look at the last fight right here. I think a couple of critical things is that we do have Dunizuni finding Shred at the last carousel right there. It was a great job by Dank Means to deny that, but wasn't able to keep him down forever.
All right, well, we'll send it over to the analyst desk to break down that game one before we get even more action between T1 and Citadel.
T1 are coming out on top. That lower bracket run, that steam, the win that they got in their sails really carrying through, but this was such a strong and close game.
Yeah, totally close and a spicy game that we got Stuart. So many things happening, especially in the early game. Vintium going for the lose streak, trying to go against using Chris Agami, using Aura farming. This is an element that I didn't expect to see here, Stuart, and in the end didn't make it work, but at least getting some points for the team and trying to pop off in the end and losing. So, I mean, crazy stuff all over the board.
I think it's difficult to see like how it kind of tells how well, you know, GP is, and also how kind of weak this level 9 fast level up comp can be, because you hit Twisted Fate 2, you hit Zyra 2, you hit Yone 2, and then you think for Bintum, like, I've stabilized. T1 was able to save a lot of his HP as well, but then in the end, that GP3 coming out on top. But even going back right to the start in stage 1 as well, we saw, I believe it was Crazy Moving who took the calculated loss, and then Kai Wang, we've seen from Citadel, exactly. We saw Kai Wang also open 4. Both these players open forward, both of them going for lose streak, both of them in the end getting the bottom 4 as well. But you can see that Citadel are ready to prepare and also adapt to every single game. This is a super flexible team that has multiple different win out compositions, but in the end, the Wandering Trainers start, the Sorcerer +1, and the Heavyweight coming out on top.
And do correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is also that first match that Citadel has lost so far here at EWC, which makes things just that much more exciting.
We're talking about this. Will this affect the mental? They haven't lost, so they maybe don't know how to prepare against this. The tempo has been good for them so far. And once again, the win-out players that were supposed to be Robin and Cowen didn't perform, but the Sleeping Giant in that means was the one taking the second place here. Same thing happened for T1. Normally it's Crazy Moving, popping off SCSE, and this time Dunizuni playing amazing with the swords, risking the Wandering Training that you mentioned, Stuart in the early game, and then find the when 2-star that is the win-out condition. Yeah,
I was able to go level 9 as well. I think with it being gold subscription, it just put such a big injection of gold onto all of these players, allowed to go for level 9 for Bintum as well with the invested ++ in the end, allowing him to go to level 9 to try and stabilize it in the end. But it was such a close first game. I think that it just shows that how close these two teams are, how flexible these two teams are as well. With, as you mentioned, you know, sometimes it might not be the star players, sometimes it might be someone else that might be coming out on top as well. But you see, you know, the celebrations at the end, like T1 are so animated as well, and the same with Citadel. You know, Citadel thought they had it as soon as they put one of the players into the bottom 4 and they were able to get that 1-4. They thought they had a chance to be able to kind of get it through, but in the end, the first place went over to T1, and I'm just excited to watch the rest of this series. I was glued to my seat.
This is just like a taster of most likely what we can be expecting from the entirety of today. And that just makes this defeat, I think, also that much more difficult for Citadel to stomach here, because of the fact that it genuinely looked like Kai Wang, if we were looking at his reaction camera, he was jumping out of his seat in excitement. They thought they had it.
Yeah, they thought they had it. I mean, GP just making the difference again in the end. Crazy Moving not popping off. Robinson not working out. And then we're seeing the rest of the comp. Dunizuni playing amazing, having great items, playing around the Brown in the end, having the pop-off of the composition. This is a comp that normally you only stay on level 8 because you need so much gold, and just trying to assume everything triple. Combat augment also, he didn't have economy to get there. He just pumped it up, used tempo, and then the game just threw in there. Clean play from him.
Yeah, I mean, it's clean play overall, I think, for all of these players. I think that it was a game that came down to small margins in the end. It came down to one lost fight, really, that decided the entire game. So I think for both of these teams, I think for Citadel, they still had a great performance. I think they still played it very well. They had that full open player that they've been playing throughout most of the series that we've been seeing so far today. They have the win out with the GP3. Unfortunately for Robin, was very far behind in tempo, didn't hit Jin 3, didn't even hit the Dr. Mundo 3 as well. We saw Heavy as the Crown again, you know, something that we've seen so much in this tournament be such a strong factor. But this time, unfortunately for Robin, went 8th. He tried to help his team out. Did help his team out, I guess, in a way, by helping them, you know, take down Bintum, the level 9 comp. But in the end, it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it wasn't, but also though, at the end of the day, both of these teams really need to approach this and go, especially Citadel here. Like, that was a close game. We almost had it, but we didn't. And that is okay. It's part of the process. What we've seen from every single one of these players so far is that fortitude, it's that resilience, it's that adaptability.
Adaptability, you said it. No ego. And normally we like to say, okay, this is the hero player, this is the one who should pop off. But in reality, we saw it in this game. The roles can change in a moment. It depends on who has that scenario, who has the start, who has the possibility to actually be the winner player. And then the rest of it is like, okay, it's your turn right now. You have to be the winner player. You have to be our hero. And you see the expression. They're all enjoying, they're all screaming and having fun, and also funneling aura to the rest of the team.
I think the big thing for Citadel as well, before this series, that every single one of their players actually plays different comps. You know, everyone was able to get there in the end.
Yeah, and that is just the first match that we've seen here today. We still have at least potentially 2 more coming into the series of Citadel going up against T1, with the second matchup, which could define whether or not a key will be crushed, coming up next after the break.
我都不知道我自己在挖什么了，
真的很明显吗？
想象力不够丰富。
大家好，我是哈露露，这位是 K 宝宝，这位是 YDN， 我们是来自 Fresh Wolf。今天我玩的是你画我猜，一位玩家画，然后由后面的玩家来猜说他画的是什么英雄。
我都不知道我自己在挖什么了。
几费卡啊？可以透露一下几费？
你要看一下它的特色，我要把它的特色画出来。
啊？喂，你猜中了！
天才，真的是天才，这里都猜得中。
啊，这是耳朵不是吗？
这是那个摔跤场的摔跤，
哦
这是胡子。你怎么猜？盲猜？你怎么中的啊？很夸张。
怎么做的？我以为是牛哎。OK。
OK。
这个是。
我画的很好，你这次，你不会真的猜不出来吗？刚刚你猜得出来，这个你猜不出来，
不行的。
不是？你看，这么明显，这么明显都猜不出来吗？歪歪，
真的很明显吗？
很明显啊！
你不会想不出来谁？
想象力不够丰富，2块钱。啊，这不是一讲就知道了。
不然叫什么？还叫磕不磕啊？
他叫磕不磕啦？
磕不磕？谢谢大家看我们的视频，请在 EWC 继续支持我们。
We are back for more TFT at EWC here on the SNB Esports Arena stage. I'm Casanova, joined by Clement. We just saw T1 take the first game over Citadel in this first quarterfinal of the day. Clement, what do you think Citadel's got to do? Bring this back. I mean, that game was so incredibly close.
Yeah, there was so many twists and turns, and honestly, Citadel, if it wasn't for that investor, probably would have had this one in the bag. I think what we're seeing from both of these teams in this series is that this is a very high contest for the win-out player. We talked about Citadel. Before the last game, 100% of the games they have taken first place. And for T1 as well, they are also a team that really prioritizes having multiple players with good augments that can go into that win-out position. So, this is going to be very exciting. I think it's going to be high cap and also slower tempo in stage 3.
Yeah, and this time around, no potential for the invested bailout. We're going to have 3 gold augments from the Yasuo here. So no more of those pesky prismatics creeping around. So we jump on board with Dooney Zuni to kick things off. The winner of that last game with the Sorks coming from that Wandering Trainer start. Very cool to see T1 how they played around those first augments as well. We saw them wait until pretty much the last second. They were scouting everything, picked the Wandering Trainer, saw what it was, and then just everyone else cascaded and picked their augments.
Yeah, you wanted to define who the Sork player is early. It's one of the strongest compositions to start off. So I really like that move, and 2-1 sequencing of augments is so important. We're coming into the Yasuo encounter, so the big things that we're going to be looking for throughout this tournament is going to be the solo leveling and the treasure hunt. Those two are the most defining of the augments.
Yeah, and the thing is those have not been infallible. We've seen players kind of fall flat because they don't select the right reroll line, especially with the treasure hunt in particular, right? The solo leveling has really depended on what the openers are. We've seen some games end from 2-1 because there was like a Gangplank 2 with solo leveling. So we'll have to see what is found from there. But once again, a potential Katarina opening for the side of T1 as SCSC sees a pair.
And Hero's Arc has been one of those power-ups that has been slowly gaining more and more attraction. It gives you 4.5% damage amp every level, so a lot of times you don't need to hit the level 10 plus 35%.
Right.
The dream scenario is not necessarily needed to play this line, so I'm very interested to see if SCSC stays here. As we've been talking about, Katarina is one of those lines that has been slowly rising up the ladder.
Definitely a champion that gains a lot from high amounts of damage amp to kind of scale with the crit you'll usually put on it as well. SCSC, the option of Hustler, we've seen this be picked up with Gangplank to try and get ahead of the curve. Not going to go for that time skip instead as a potential to go towards that level 6 very quickly and start your roll downs.
Yeah, this has been a surprising augment. It's usually not considered very strong in solo, but in this 4v4 situation, just hitting level 6 almost instantly, being able to dictate what everyone else plays around you has been invaluable here. So we're going to be taking a look here. We know that T1 is pretty slow on picking their augments. The first thing we're going to be paying attention to is definitely, has anyone hit those OP augments? Oh, looks like we're clear.
Yeah, none of the craziest ones, but I will say right away, we saw Dooney Zuni be the first to pick for T1 with that artifact anvil coming through. Dank Memes is going to be seeing Edgelord Executioner as the pickup for this Wandering Trainer. So not the premium pickups.
Definitely not there, and I'm very curious to see where he goes because in both of those lines it's not necessarily needed to max out the 2 separate traits here. In here for Dooney Zuni, he is going to be playing into the Silver Mare Dawn, and this is one of those artifacts that actually opens a lot of weird lines for you, especially in the 3-cost space. I'm particularly looking at Darius. That will still be playable with this, and also one of the best augments coming in for someone like the Jace.
Yeah, exactly, and we saw a lot of those Battle Academia already on the bench, so maybe Jace being an early consideration for sure. Darius, I always want the Dunk Master coming back in TFT. I love the reset Darius, and they did bring it back for this set, and it's been a bit of a bummer that the comp is a little bit unplayable unless you find that Silvermare Dawn. So it'd be really cool to actually see that brought out in 4v4. However, 3-cost rerolls historically have struggled a lot in 4v4 with the ability to be griefed.
Absolutely, and that's what I was a little bit worried about going over Dooney Juni's board, that he settled into the Smolder line as well. So we'll see if these lines do shake up. Shojin, of course, still a rather flexible item. In the meantime, we do have 2-Trick coming out for Bintum, trying to full win streak his stage 2 once again, and just going for the strongest units here. A lot of people don't know this, but Kalista and the Neferi stage 1, their stats are just bonkers.
Yeah, Soul Fighter looking like a very strong start to the game to try and look for that win streak for Bintum. You see Dooney Juni just slamming everything as well, trying to look for the win streak of their own. Across the board, I'll have to see what else can work out, as we do have that Wandering Trainer on the side of Citadel is kind of worrying for me. I'm wondering, what Edgelord Executioner, what do we even have open there to actually play towards?
So we have seen Edgelord Volibear be kind of the go-to composition, and it's been a great tempo comp, but not necessarily a win-out situation. So I think that does limit the sort of strategical implications for Dank Memes, that he's likely not going to be the win-out player. He's likely just going to be for top 4, and make sure that the team isn't blown out.
Out the gates, we're seeing 3 T1 members with 2 wins. No early win streaks for Citadel. It's going to be trading games, and then Dank Memes looking for that loss streak. Crazy Moving having the early Smolder in with the Shojin, but of course, this setup can go towards Sorks, theoretically can go towards Prodigies, but of course the mana generation not as useful there.
Yeah, SCSC, I think he's just taking this for tempo. He realizes he just wants extra items on his board here. This is a very low priority item when it comes to the current patch. And that's a cool thing about T1. They actually heavily value augments that give them tempo and to protect their win-out players, as we're seeing top 3 players in the lobby currently all on T1.
They've been one of the best teams at just holding on to that HP. We've seen multiple wins from them just because they have someone who has gone on like a 13 streak and just stayed so healthy that they're able to just leverage that in the end stages of the game. Get our first carousel, and no big immediate pickups that are standing out to me. I know Dooney does find a Swain, but I don't think there was a Crystal Gambit setup at all. Just there as one of the best early game tanks, and just finding the sword to kind of give you more items towards that Silver Marathon setup.
True. Looking across the board, I think the most interesting thing is going to be the 3-2 rolldown, because so far, nobody has committed to GP, but we know that doesn't mean nobody will.
I mean, he's surely going to show up sooner rather than later. It'd be very interesting to see kind of like maybe one of the first games where there's 0 gangplanks, but I just don't think it's really possible.
No.
You can force your way into the line, especially if no one else is going for it.
And that's going to be the cool thing to see here. Which player is going to be the designated GP player? Robin Song's already slamming down into the Void Staff. He's not going to be that one. And Dooney Juni, interestingly enough, is going to take off his items to ensure that the level 5 Bintum will get the win. And Bintum is so happy. He's like, well done, my apprentice.
We also saw, Dooney adding Mundo and Jin to the board. Potential to maybe go for that reroll, but I believe Dooney is the Silvermare Dawn player, which I don't believe that really works for that composition. I mean, I guess you can throw it on Mundo because he does do just a big amount of damage.
There was a lot of theory crafting about it working on Jin because he's also gated by attack speed.
Slowed.
But I just want to tell everyone that Silvermare Dawn actually takes priority. So that item on Jin is a plus 1.4. do not play that combination.
Pretty good delta there.
Yeah.
Good delta if you want to lose.
In the opposite direction, unfortunately.
All right, still looking at Crazy Moving, having another great setup to win streak, avoiding Bintum once again. And we're having another game with T1 just controlling the win streaks. 5 streaks for 2 members of their team.
This is really critical for Bintum. He picked a full tempo augment, now going up against Solus with Keepers, one of the strongest combat augments early. Can that Kalista get the pierce through? This is the old patch. Kalista is not going to skewer your entire team. He doesn't go on the right target, but still has enough in the tank.
Yeah, relatively close fight, but still, I mean, end of the day, it's a 3-unit loss for Solus. Kai Wing able to hold on to the full loss streak. Robin with a 4 loss, but double win streaks in stage 2 once again for T1. This is their comfort zone, And, well, we found the gangplanks, Clement. SCSC is going to be on a pair of those already.
We knew it was going to be coming at some point, and SCSC using that time skit to hit level 6 early. No rolls so far, just natural these two GPs, and we do have our GP mirror already established. It's going to be SCSC on T1, and then Solus on the side of Citadel Gaming.
Yeah, we saw that Keepers with the gangplank slam. Seems like that is an easy bet that we're going to be getting the gangplank here, especially having that chain vest ready to go into an Edge of Night after finding a sword.
This is very interesting because SCSC, with how much gold he has in advantage, he could decide to roll on 3-1. He could decide to race this one and take copies before Solus even begins.
Already seeing a couple of rolls, finds the 2-star, so might not want to continue rolling because he found the 2-star, but I also kind of like the idea of ripping more out of the pool before Solus even gets a chance to find his first gangplank.
And this has been a really big discussion about this tournament. How deep do you want to roll? How much do you want to deny? And I think what we finally settled on is if you hit your first 2 GPs, GP2 before the opponent player, then you still want to roll on 6, but you can slow roll afterwards. And I think that's the line SCSC will be going for.
We'll have to keep our eyes on Solus. It's quite a bit behind, actually, on the economy, just the augment difference, right? It has the higher cap-out potential with this Keepers, for sure, but trying to get to those gangplanks, especially being this far behind. We saw how big of a problem it was. Dank Memes hitting so much faster than T1 in the last game, being able to get that gangplank 3 and never finding a gangplank 3 for Crazy Moving.
And we'll have to stay on Solus right here. This is the pivotal moment in the game. He has his 0 GP copies. He's going to have to start now. His items are fully committed. He cannot pivot into any other composition. So can he find them on the 3-2? If he doesn't get them here, it's going to be increasingly more and more difficult in the future.
Could just grab more gold. Yeah, raining gold immediately seems like a great pickup. You just need some extra money to try and catch up because you're behind. Finds the first 2 copies. If he can get the 2-star in the next few rolls here without completely having to grieve his econ, it can make a huge difference. Just the pair for now. It looks like Solus does not want to go below 30, but it seems like he will.
Well, this is kind of interesting. He's actually not going to pick up the Yasuo pair before the Yasuo 2-star before hitting GP2. Usually this composition, we kind of think of Yasuo as a good secondary carry, but he's prioritizing, I'm too far behind in copies. I'm just going to go for Kabuko and GP.
Looks like SCSC actually able to find Keepers, so destroying that disparity that was there on the combat augs. Raining gold comes in, but you'd want the econ augment first and then the combat augment second if you can choose. So SCSC spot just infinitely better than Solus's.
Yeah, and we're seeing the assist by Dooney Juni here. Once again, if your teammate hits the GP2, you are free to deny as much as possible. An extremely deep roll down coming in from Dooney Juni, going to 0 gold for that Mundo 2. So we'll see if that streak is going to get broken. If it's broken, then he can't be considered in top 2 anymore.
I'm so bummed to see this the comp commit when those 3-cost lines with Silvermare are so cool, but because it's 4v4, it does make a lot of sense. Go for the more stable thing, which is just going to be this Mundo Jin. And this is not the first Silvermare Mundo we've seen. We saw it once before. I don't remember which team played it, but we did have it once before earlier in the tournament, and it is just like, okay, well, this stats are fine, and Mundo does hit hard, so we'll just put the Silvermare there.
Yeah, he's just using the extra resistances on it, and he does do quite a bit of damage. A really cool thing about the item is that you do get extra mana regen now, since it usually goes on to fighters, and that does work with tanks still. So there is a little bit of extra DPS coming out from that unit, but not going to be put into the carry role as I would have liked to see.
Yeah, and there is going to be Solus looking for this fight. Solus has started to win streak after grabbing just the Gangplank 1. The items are great. Having Keepers are good, but Dooney rolling so deep and finding the 2 stars of both of this, getting stable around the Mundo. It's always funny with this Mundo Jin board. It feels like until you get that Jin 3, the artistic KO, the damage is just lacking, and it's entirely reliant on just how insane this Mundo tank is.
Oh, and that Mundo actually landed super fast. It went straight down on the ground. I thought that GP might have had an avenue into that backline. If Dooney Juni loses his streak after rolling to 0, it would change the map quite a bit, but T1 managed to hang on. Another GP on this carousel.
Be big for Solus. I'm curious if it will just get denied before it gets around to him. I have to imagine, seeing as how he has not found the GP2, that might be a consideration, but he does value the sword, needs the proper items to to get everything rolling, so grabs that Jarvan instead.
And taking a look across the board right here, Dank Memes has settled into the Executioner line. Not going to be making much use of the Edgelord here, even though there is that cute, cuddly volley bear on the carousel. Kai Wang, interestingly enough, looks to have a very similar board to Robin Songs. Yeah, we're getting the side-by-side, nearly identical lines here. I wonder how they're going to fit these compositions. Kai Wang's, both of them are already level 7, so they've passed the point for optimal Katarina play. And I'm just a little bit confused here. One of them will have to pivot to Sorks eventually.
Yeah, I think it's Kai Wang. I think Kai Wang ends up in that direction. Now, obviously, when they roll, there might just be, hey, somebody hits, you know, Karma 2, and they just kind of go in that direction, or they see the Yumis. I think they have to be open and really good communication on this roll down. It's something to watch maybe on 4-1, 4-2, a side-by-side of those two, and see how they're actually communicating that roll down and making both of these comps work, because it's going to be maybe easier for T1 to grief them because they're stuck in these AP lines. They have to play Sork's Prodigy, and they have to hit right away.
Yeah, they're going to have to negotiate on 4-1. You can't be too set in your ways on who's going to play which line. You kind of have to depend on the roll downs. And currently looking at the board here, there is a huge HP differential already forming. 1 to 4 occupied by T1. It's going to give them about an 80 HP buffer. But we have seen in yesterday's game, Rock versus Evos, it was the same script, very deep roll downs, Evos still able to flip the script.
Yeah, I mean, really the tail of this game is going to be on 4-1, on 4-2. These first two big roll downs that these teams are going to be going for, especially because these are massive loss streaks. There's a lot of econ that Citadel has been building up, building towards this spot, as Dank Memes even pivoting out of Gangplank towards the all-out Cassante.
Yeah, and this is a very rare strategy that we've seen in 4v4, but if there was one team to pull it off, it would be Citadel. They're going for 3 fast 8 compositions at the same time. So the key thing here is, okay, we need to decide who rolls down first. Because the person to roll down first, usually the highest HP one, you can take some stuff out of the pool and make life easier for the rest.
Yeah, and just quick correction, Dank Memes on the Executioner track was not in the Gangplank, that was Soulless, so just actually heading towards having that Cassante alongside the Akali, which we've seen this comp actually do very well for a lot of teams, but it just feels like Dank Memes is very far behind. So these are such impactful roll downs that will be coming through for the side of Team Citadel.
3 fast 8 compositions going to decide their fate going into this one right now. I think they need to hold on for one more round. They need all the gold possible. So we're just going to be looking at drops. And of course, I think our observers brilliantly, they want to figure out who's going to be on the Sork line, who's going to be on the Yuumi line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy staying here through the 4-1 roll down. I want to see exactly what's going on between these two players. Both of them have items that can go either way because neither of them have slammed a mana item, which you would usually expect from the Sorcerers, but not for the Prodigies.
Kai Wing,
please don't lose the neutrals.
Please don't.
I think he's fine, but wow, that was a little bit spooky for Citadel.
A little sus. Looks like Robin Songs is going to be given the Leona, but as I've said before, you cannot be too dedicated.
Robin skipped to Jarvan immediately. I think they've already committed their lines, but he did grab a Karma on part of this roll down. Looking on the other side, I'm not seeing any big hits for Kai Wing. It feels like this might just be a tragedy for Citadel. Neither are finding the Yumis, neither are finding the Karmas that they need. Both of them find a single Karma. Robin sold it so that he can go towards Yuumi, but he didn't find a single copy. 2 massive roll downs, 2 massive misses, and that might just be the tournament for Citadel.
100 gold spent here, but no upgraded carries, no upgraded front lines. This is a bit of a disaster, and that's the risk of playing all these 4-cost fast 8 compositions. You can see in their faces, they know that they're in a very difficult spot. Maybe the 4-2 augments can save them here. It is going to be gold as we are in Yasuo and Encounter, so I'm trying to think of a reinforcement could be a really big one coming in for both.
That's a great call out. Reinforcement is probably the best augment they can ask for. Both of them have even missed first copies on some of the units that they want. As you take a look at Junizuni, 2 Yumis on the bench, immediately rolled down at the same time, trying to find his own units but deny the 4 costs, and T1 have been successful in the griefs, especially because that was on level 6 that he found 2 Yumis, and the level 8 players are not able to get there. Big grab bag potentially for Robin, just trying to find a little extra gold, a couple extra items. Not even upgrading his front line with the Recon until he can try and track down a Yumi, and it just is not showing up.
Not even Dank Memes being able to hit any of the 4-cost upgrades. He has that Executioner in, but no Akali so far. So this is just looking disastrous in terms of the rolldown. One of the worst rolldowns that we have seen in the tournament.
Did Dank Memes accidentally buy this Jarvan? Is that reinforcements?
It is reinforcements, but he can use it for his own composition, and he's also on a 6-loss streak. So I don't think he's taking away from his teammates necessarily. It's just he's forced to do so.
Yeah, it just feels tough when you're missing a single copy of Akali as well, and it's exactly like very, very relevant for your composition. You know your teammate needs the Jarvan. I agree with you. It's maybe not necessarily a mistake, but it's very tough for this team in an already dire situation. Dank Beam's on the 6th loss. He does get to find a stable board. He's got frontline, he's got a carry with the All at Cassante, and he found his first copy of Akali. So there's a little hope for Dank Memes, but the problem is just Kaiwing and Robin are so likely to go 7-8 here, and the HP disparity means that 1-2 is going to be nearly impossible with how much life that T1 has.
Yeah, I think there comes a point for Citadel Gaming where they have to say, you know what, we just have to cut Robin Songs and Kaiwing loose. We're not going to sack for them. We have to preserve everything for Dank Memes and Soulless. Are they at that point, and when do they pull out that call? That's going to be a critical factor.
Yeah, I mean, they have to fight for themselves, but even Soulless, right? We take a look here, 4-3 on a 2-loss streak, no gold remaining. Gangplank only 4 copies, and yes, he's able to find the heroic grab bag for 2 duplicators, but unless you can find these last few Gangplanks, Soulless is not going to be able to win this game from this spot.
Yeah, this is just looking so tough, and this is why 4v4 has been a reroll dominated meta. I think this was a thing that Citadel Gaming said, you know, we were winning so much, we were getting a little bit worried that maybe our playstyle was untested. And this is one of those results of what could happen when you're going for those 4 costs. It's very easy for the rerollers to deny because they've been rolling the entire stage of this.
Yeah, looking just there, Dunizuni has found the 3 stars that he needs. He finds both Jin and Mundo because it's uncontested in this lobby. Citadel doesn't have the gold to hold units. Robin and Kaiwing had to look for their comps but found nothing. And it looks like this may just be T1 running away with it because there's not a lot of recourse when we look at the side of Citadel.
Also, pretty low roll on the 4 cost being offered right here. It's going to be a Volibear and a Samira. None of those lines are useful for the side of Citadel Gaming. I think this is the 2 last rolls. You know, we're going to have to take a look at Kaiwing's board here. Down to 7 HP. Can he find that Karma 2 that he's looking for?
Yeah, and meanwhile, SDSC, 7 copies of Gangplank. 10 win streak. 84 HP. Doing the thing that T1 has done all tournament. Having people hold on to that life lead, hold on to those win streaks, rolling aggressively. Kaiwing did find a Gwen to go alongside this Karma, but it's just double adaptive with a jeweled gauntlet. This is just scraps trying to put together a composition. Gonna run into Soulless, and I like Soulless is not removed. They are just cutting Kaiwing loose if Soulless wins the fight, and you can see the Gangplank already moving onto the Karma. That's just going to be Kaiwing very likely going down here as the Gangplank cleans up the last few members of the board. Maybe the Lux can make it a 1-unit loss instead, but no. Kaiwing goes down in 8th on 4-5, and the hope is dwindling for Citadel in this second game.
Yeah, the HP leads are just massive for T1 right now. They're still holding on to 1 through 4. So over 100 HP differential between the 2 teams. Crazy Moving manages to find the 3 cost early on with the Smolder. Robin Songs and Dank Memes, they do hold on though. They do turn the corner quite slightly. I don't think the Yumis are going to going back in the pool. I saw at least 4 Yumis being held by T1.
He's found 1 copy, the upgraded Leona. finds an upgraded Malzahar, which can stabilize him. Usually that's your stabilization for stage 4, is to find the upgraded Malzahar, maybe some front line to anchor around, but all the hits have come through for T1 as well. Robin's going to run into Dank Memes now, who is the only member to really actually hit for this team with that Cassante. It's just going to tear through the front line. I don't even know if Robin gets this win. Looks like Leona might be able to anchor long enough. Big for Robin to stay alive, but you lose HP on your most likely win-out player here with Dank Memes. We were curious if the 3-cost reroll would come through for T1. We thought maybe Silvermare Dawn turn into a Darius or a Jace, but no, it's Smolder, which is, I guess, the harder to grief 3-cost in the set.
Yeah, it has been very difficult. There are some specific mechanics that you need to use it, and you just need to hit it early. It's been very difficult for everyone to get that, especially when you like to pair it with the Juggernaut frontline. It's also highly contested. Honestly, it looks like T1 already are kind of feeling that they have this one in the bag. All of their faces that we saw in them are smiles. They're kind of chatting amongst themselves. And we also saw Dank Memes. He was, he was also kind of chuckling there as well.
Yeah, at least in decent spirits for this one, knowing, hey, sometimes that's just TFT. That's what happens. T1 playing this exceptionally. Bintum, 114 gold.
I just want to say this has to be wrong, man. I feel like if you're Bintum, you probably want to use that gold to deny a little bit harder or build up your board, but he's just so comfortable in this position. Is there any chance that this move comes back to bite him? I'm trying to think about it. There's the
like
GP3.
Going fast 9, GP3 for Solus. Maybe now Solus and Dank Memes have some positioning, but I don't think there's enough life because Solus and Dank Memes will have to fight each other. They have maybe 1-2 sacrifices left that they can have throughout this entire game. And yeah, there's going to be some damage going back and forth, but if T1 tighten up and try and make sure that they only take small losses, there's so much of a hill to overcome for Citadel. Robin finally going to just go down here to Crazy Moving.
Oh, and then this does look like the end of the road for Robin Songs. Their best player so far in this tournament, going 8-7 in this critical series. There's a lot to be desired. I felt like the early game was much weaker from Citadel against a team like T1 that is known to just double down on crushing your spirits and your HP bars in Stage 2 and Stage 3. Dank Memes and Solus now have to go 1-2 to take this series into a Game 3.
Yeah, and after that loss from Solus, I don't know if that's mathematically possible here, Clement, when I look at these life totals. T1 able to hold on to so much throughout the game. We kind of said it going into 4-1. This will be the tale of the game. This roll down from Kaiwing and Robin Songs.
And I felt it was actually a pretty messy roll down from the two sides. We saw Karma being taken by both players. Leona's being hovered right there. So I wonder if they could have orchestrated a staggered roll down, perhaps. You know, just having the higher HP player go down the pool. If one of you each get a copy of Karma, it's really not doing much onto the board. So, you know, I think it was just allowing T1 to put too much pressure onto their boards into the early stages and being forced into a bad spot, playing 3 Fast 8 compositions in the same lobby.
Yeah, it's just way too low tempo into a team, as you said, that is just, at this point, just being known for how much aggression they put out. And the strategy working for T1 once again, getting that aggression, having these huge life totals, and just beating down on the opponent, taxing your life, not giving you many opportunities to escape.
Is there a sliver of a chance where T1, where they're all relaxed and laughing, and with Bintum floating over 100 gold, actually get Karma directed back at them? Is there a chance? You know, it would be legendary. It would be a little bit hilarious. I don't think T1 would ever, you know, completely fall off the tracks like that.
It'd have to be some Braum shenanigans, right? Trying to reduce the damage taken. Has to be the most blessed matchmaking that we've ever seen. Some huge chunks coming out of each of these players on these losses.
Okay, so Bintum, he went level 9 and rolled all of his gold.
He hit Karma. He's got the full Sorks board online. Dank Meme's going to find another win. Solus going to take a loss, and I think that's just not something that is allowed to happen for Citadel to even have that chance still come back around.
Yeah, going to 1 life, both of them combined less than 20 HP. Mathematically, probably impossible. Solus does get that GP3 though. So we'll see if he can find the Kabuko 3 as well. That could be the stabilization point. The 1 in a million shot for Citadel.
Let's see these fights, see if they can fight back. We saw the Cassante board win a few games previously. We've seen GP be so stable for Citadel. Finally taking its first loss in the last game. Couldn't overcome the Sorks, even though they've won 4 games with GP previously. This time around, Solus so far behind SCSC in the early game, trying to get those gangplanks. SCSC able to find it, but never actually gets the 3-star himself. Instead pushes levels, pushes tempo, adding more units to the board to deal more damage to Citadel.
And this could be it. This could be the final fight for Citadel at EWC. They were the most dominant team before coming into the elimination stages. Do they still have a chance to hold on here? It's GP3 versus GP2, but the GP2 is already starting on.
Yeah, and the CC just keeps coming through onto the 3-star gangplank. The 2-star might be able to best him with the Kabuko, and he is. Solus goes down. That's a 6-7-8 for Citadel, and that's T1 crushing the hopes of North America once again. Take down Vitality, take down Citadel, and they're moving on to the semifinals.
This is the T1 that we expected to see. They had a slow start early on, dropping their first series to Weibo Gaming. We were questioning them. Is Crazy Moving the correct substitute for Bobe? Our T1 with just a pretty weak ear individually for their performances, still at the same level. And they prove all the doubters wrong. They are still one of the